Hi, this is Sweet Life and I'm Natasha, back at it with the recipe for roasted duck. When I was in junior high, my family was invited to my mom's then husband's family dinner. It was a Saturday night and I had important plans to watch TV, so I didn't feel like attending. My mom was having none of that. So sometime later we dressed and headed to the restaurant. It turned out to be a really nice night. I don't remember who or what the party was for, nor do I remember who was there, yet I do fondly remember the food. It was the first time I can remember having duck. At the time, I planned to become a chef/restaurateur when I grew up and found the experience inspirational. My mom was very supportive of my cooking dreams, as it meant she got to eat some pretty good food. A few weeks after the dinner, I talked my mom into buying me a duck so I could try to recreate the dish from the restaurant. Every so often, she would buy me a Peking duck from Chinatown or a raw duck, and I tried making my own Peking duck or a simple roasted duck. In the years since, roasted duck has become one of my favorite things to make for special occasions. In America, many people don't commonly eat duck, so it feels different, right? It feels a little bit fancier. The flavor can be a bit gamier than chicken, but has a slight sweetness and a rich texture. Aside from accounting for the fat, it's really not that different from roasting a whole chicken. Here's my recipe.
Here I have a duck, which I have just washed with a bit of vinegar, some lemon juice, water. Let it sit for a little bit after making sure to wash both the outside and the inside. Let it sit for a few minutes and then rinsed it off. And I've just seasoned it very simply with a little bit of seasoning salt, just starting off with just basic seasoning because I'm going to add quite a bit of spices. The spices that I'm going to use are cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, and black pepper. And I'm now going to just take the spoon and blend all of the seasonings together. The reason being, you want to have the seasonings, like the different spices, evenly mixed together. So you don't get too much of one thing, and you ensure that when you sprinkle this over the duck, that the flavor is evenly distributed. The spices are evenly distributed. You don't end up with like a bunch of black pepper on one side or no black pepper on the other, or a bunch of ginger here, no ginger there. Mix it together. And with that spice mix, you now sprinkle it over the duck. It just makes it easier to evenly distribute the spices. Make sure that you take care to sprinkle the spices inside the duck. Take care to take your hand and actually rub it in, right? Sprinkle it, but then take your hand and give it like a nice little massage on the inside, so you make sure the inside of the duck is nicely seasoned. But take your time to make sure that you really massage it into the duck, that you get into all those little cracks and crevices and whatnot, so you don't end up with like a part of the duck that's very well seasoned and then another part of the duck that's very bland. So I am also going to season the exterior of the duck, but when this roasts in the oven, I want it to end up having a nice, rich, dark brown color. And in addition to that, I want to ensure that the spices stick to the outside of the duck. So I'm going to use the same spice mix, but I'm going to put together like a little wet sauce. Soy sauce, mirin or sushi seasoning, toasted sesame oil, and a little bit of honey. You've got like some dark elements there with the soy sauce, with the sesame oil. You got some sugar content in the honey. Those are going to help the skin to take on a nice brown color. So you'll get a bit of savory from the soy sauce, a bit of tang from the mirin, a rich, warm kind of flavor from the sesame oil, and then a little bit of sweetness from the honey. It'll just combine for a nice combination of flavors. We're now going to add that spice rub that we put together, just a remainder that's left over after we rubbed it on the inside of the duck. Just add it right into the liquid, take your spoon and just stir it in. Nothing complicated, just to combine it. And so now we're going to just take our spice mix sauce rub and just rub it over the outside of the duck, taking care to get it all over the skin. Spread it over nice and even, all over the breast, all over the back. Take care to get underneath the wings, in between the wings, all up on the booty, on the legs, everywhere. Just like with the inside, we want to ensure that we get this spice mix everywhere so that everything has good flavor, and especially with the exterior, that it has good color. I go ahead and just tuck the wings back so that they're not flipping and flopping about. Duck has a lot of fat, and I don't want the duck to sit in the fat as it's cooking, right? Like we're not making confit. So all I'm doing is just taking some pieces of foil, wadding them up, and laying them in the bottom of the pan. So this way I can place the duck on top of it. You could also do the same if you have a baking rack. But given the shape of this roasting pan that I'm using, I don't have like a rack that would fit inside of it and still allow me to cover it. So from there is just to take the duck and to place it in the pan on top of my makeshift foil rack. Just take it, make sure that it's nice and evenly placed in the pan. I don't really want it touching the sides because the sides will get hot and I don't want it to burn. And there's just like a little bit of seasoning at the bottom of the bowl, and I'll just pour that over, rub it over. This has been in the refrigerator, uncovered, just getting some cold air on it for a few hours after rubbing the seasoning on. And so this I'm going to cover and put into the oven at 350 degrees. Duck leans a little bit towards being a type of red meat, and so because of that, some people like to cook it to the point of the breast still having a little bit of pink to it. I prefer for my duck to be well done. So it's your duck, cook it to your desired level of doneness. Just this open in the pan a little bit before it reaches your preferred level of doneness and allowing it to brown. You could also mix up a little bit more of the wet sauce that we made and use that just to baste the exterior of the duck, just helping it to get a nice rich brown color. Now, when you pull this out of the oven, you have the centerpiece for a really nice dinner. You can dress it up or dress it down based on the sides that you make to go along with it. It's like a little bit different. You know, it's something that you can certainly have as like a nice Sunday dinner. You can dress it up a little bit more for a holiday meal or a special occasion. It's quite versatile, and again, it's one of those recipes that looks really fancy, but it's pretty simple to put together. I like to make this with just some home fries and maybe some mushrooms or some roasted Brussels sprouts. You know, nothing too difficult or anything like that, but it's like outside the norm of what you probably eat all the time. Very impressive, nice meal to put together. It's something that I enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my Cooking at Home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.